Mm. Hi, my lovelies, my black kitties, my fierce, divine women. My only real question for you today is, can you believe in yourself? Can you believe in yourself for 3 days, 72 hours? Can you be all in without a shadow of a doubt, believing in whatever your goal is, whatever you're trying to achieve, that it's already here, that it's already happened? So I actually, by the way, I'm cooking. So if you're watching this visually, that's what I'm doing. I'm cutting up vegetables. But nonetheless, I have been really thinking about manifestation as far as accomplishing goals and what it really takes for us to have the correct mindset. Now, if you are religious by any means, then you have probably heard of Jesus Christ and the resurrection and the 3 days and how that required a lot of faith, a lot of discipline, a lot of belief, even whenever you didn't see it. If you're not religious, think about plants. Think about when you plant a seed, how it's in complete darkness and there's a period where you're like, is this seed even going to grow? Is there going to be any difference in what I'm trying to create? And also, like, what is it that I'm doing, quote unquote, wrong during that time that's preventing me from being able to really accomplish this goal? So, again, I ask you, can you believe yourself for 72 hours? Can you truly believe in whatever you're trying to create relentlessly, all in, without a doubt, for 72 hours? Because if you can hold the thought for 17 seconds and you can hold the belief for 72 hours, you literally can get whatever it is that you want in life. You can attract that person. You can get that goal. You can start manifesting like an actual pro instead of thinking that this is a bunch of like, quote unquote, hoopla. Like you can actually start to see success become yours. Now, I actually think about every single instance that I was able to manifest quickly or able to achieve a goal very quickly. And it really did come down to, could I hold on to myself and like the belief into what I was trying to manifest? There is a level of detachment here, which gets brought up a lot in manifestation. And detachment doesn't mean that you don't want something. It means that you're detached from the outcome of how it is received and given to you. Now, here's another thing about the universe. The answer is always yes. And if the answer is always yes, and you live by that mentality, then you must also remember your negative thoughts get yeses as well. So if I start to believe that something can happen, like I'll give you an example, even this week, it was a miraculous, amazing week for me because one of my biggest goals of all time was actually achieved. And it's something I had to detach from, but still be working towards and believing that I deserved it. So I'll use myself and my life as an example here and how this really came into being. So I have a huge passion for helping people, especially helping people with their relationships and their relationship with their self, their own belief system, being able to be more empowering, attract that partner that they deserve, that fairy tale after, and then also maintaining it, like truly maintaining a good, healthy, wonderful relationship. I 100% believe it's still possible. You cannot make me lose faith just because of the times that we live in or even where I live. Like, I believe in love. I believe in true love. I believe that it is something that is timeless. Okay. With that, that was my soapbox. I had a dream a very long time ago that I would become a world-renowned psychotherapist that helped people globally via stages or television or podcast, news networks, to be able to show people and teach people and guide others on how to achieve their dream life, their dream relationships. So I just knew that that's what I wanted. I knew that that was my dharma, that I wanted to be in that niche, in that role. And even as I've aged, I've only stepped into that power even more. And I've taken some detours for sure, but at the end of the day, that's what really just makes my heart soar, is helping people get their happy ever afters, and then also working through any challenges, external or internal, that arise. So with that, I had this desire, this belief, this dharma, and I knew that I couldn't stay attached to how it happened, right? All I knew was I needed to continue to do the steps and to believe in myself that this was going to happen, that I was going to be the type of person that could make a career out of this and make a career that would help not just, here and there, but masses, and like continuously aiding to people's love for their self and for their partner. So I had a dream, and a lot of people were like, you can't get paid to speak on this. Like, you need to do one-to-one clients, which I do one-to-one clients, but as I'm like evolving, I still stay true to my dream. I still stay true to what I envision for my life. So they're telling me, like, that's not really possible, even like you trying to accomplish that, like you're not even married yet, like how does that work? And just all these negative belief systems come into play. And I'm like, well, that's not my reality. My husband was made for me a really long time ago, and I'm in a very happy, fulfilling long-term relationship even now. And I've had beautiful relationships in the past. And I know that they all serve like my greater good as far as where I'm going. And that goes back to my relentless belief system that my partner is divinely made for me, and I can still share my wisdom and everything I've learned about healthy dynamics and overcoming trauma with others in the process. Because it doesn't have to necessarily be educational or experience. You can combine and create. And that's the world of manifestation. That's the world of life. Is there's not just one way. There are so many different ways. There's so many different relationship types. And what somebody considers to be successful may not be successful to another person. But the belief is still there. It's still ingrained. It's still very true. So whenever I like go about, my belief system when it comes to this, I'm like, I believe that I deserve to be paid. And I believe that I can make a career out of helping people, and that I don't have to sacrifice my own well-being, taking care of my resources in order to help other people protect their resources. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm helping people protect their relationship, be able to provide for their relationship, be able to nurture and support, right? So both things can be simultaneously true. Just because you are one way doesn't mean that you can't be abundant. And just because you're giving doesn't mean that you are taking away from somebody else. In fact, the opposite's true. The whole world is abundant. There's so much resources and beauty that Mother Nature gives us. And we fall into these negative habits and these negative belief systems, which disrupt our 72 hours of manifestation, our progression to actually achieve our goals. So getting back to it is, I have been paid to be like a speaker. In fact, I, in the past, have won awards on advocacy speeches. And while I really love advocacy and helping with human rights, that's my cause. I love Mother Nature and I love human rights. I also wanted to get paid for my passion, for my dharma, and for psychotherapy practices and counseling and coaching with relationships. And I really wanted to move into a space where I was paid to speak, and paid to speak on a massive scale. With that, and I love how I said, oh, my Toastmasters would have been like, oh no, Margaret, but this is very casual for me. This is very much hopping on here. Like I said, I was cooking or preparing dinner for later. And getting back into it is, I deserve to be paid. And I know that that's part of the process. But if I started letting any of these negative belief systems come into my mindset, it was going to interfere by increasing the resistance into what I was doing, into what I was trying to accomplish, which is actually help as many people with their relationship with themselves and their partner as possible. I mean, that's the overall goal, is how do I help as many people as possible while I'm here on earth? And here's the fun part. Then you have to let go. Then you have to detach, not from the desire, but from how it occurs, how it happens. I cannot control the process. Whenever I'm putting out feelers, whether it's working on workshops here in Miami, or it's doing LinkedIn, or going to networking events, or answering Instagram messages, these are all outlets of how something can manifest. But often the energy that we put out into something, our desire, our inspired action, doesn't come back to us the same way. Just because I've, done a workshop here in Miami and been able to collect, referrals and testimonies, doesn't mean that the next big break is going to be through workshops in Miami. It could be from a book deal. It could be from the podcast. It could be from a friend of a friend that I haven't spoke to in 10 years. And that's kind of where the resistance lowers. But you still have to believe. You have to believe for that 3 days, that 72 hours, to actually ignite the spark of what you're trying to create. So before I go further in that part of the story, I want to bring us back to the 72 hours, because there's a reason that it's 72 hours. And that is kind of the phoenix cycle, is what I'm going to call it. A phoenix is known for rebirth and destruction and darkness, and then growth and being on fire, and that purification process. So this is very similar to the 3 days. Is there has to be something that dies in order for creation to come forward. And before you can grow into that creation and become magnificent, something has to be surrendered and lost. The same thing goes back to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The very first day, death had to happen. And it happened very brutally. It wasn't soft. And a lot of you all have had death happen in your life, whether metaphorically or literally, and it was a brutal process. If you were anything like me, you are I want to end it. I'm done. I can't do this. This hurts. It's so painful. Right? You give up almost. Death has to happen. But right after death comes decay. It comes ashes. It comes that decomposition process, right? And this is where people enter into kind of that early stages of day 2, and even through all the way to day 3 of just agony and pain, and they lose their confidence in something. That's when all of the doubt comes in. That's when all of the destruction really comes to your mindset. And this is hard, because this is where you're hitting yourself against the wall over and over, trying to make something happen, trying to force things, or you're completely I give up. Why did I even bother? Why did I think that was possible? That is the challenging time. That is the time where a lot of your manifestations and your inspired action end. And you're why am I stuck in this time loop of this never happening? So if you feel like you've been trying to manifest or create something for a really long time and it just hasn't happened, that is why. Is you got caught in that second day, that second part of the process where you felt like it wasn't going to happen anymore, that you didn't deserve it anymore, or it wasn't even possible. And you died with that manifestation. You basically took yourself out. And that is not a fun thing to hear. In fact, that's where a lot of people are going to be I want to tune her out. I don't want to hear this. This is not fun. And I need you to really challenge your negative mindset for a moment and be no, I'm not listening to that. I'm making a difference. I'm going to keep going. This can be life-changing, and it is game-changing. So just like day 2, think about the disciples. Think about even the enemies of Jesus Christ. They all thought it was done. There was there's no way he's coming back. We said that he's going to come back, but no, not happening, right? Or think about it if you're not religious. into the sense of the plant, right? You plant the seed and you're like waiting and you're like staring at the ground and you're like, I don't think this is going to work. Maybe you got a bad seed, right? Maybe, nothing could sprout at the end of the day. And you don't understand the germination process. You didn't understand God's plan here. And your doubt starts like actually feeding into energy of what you're creating, right? So with that, you've got to be like, no, the seed knows what to do. The seed has a process. It's working it through. And I am not helping by saying that it can't be done or that you're not going to grow or that this isn't possible or this is ridiculous. Like, you're not doing anyone any favors, especially not you. You are actually decaying in the process and halting and even pausing or even destroying your manifestation, your creation, your goal, your dream. So bring a bone back, right? So that's like day 2, right? And as you're working through day 2, maybe you go in and out, right? But nobody likes lukewarm. Maybe you have to reset and be like, nope, this is possible. I'm going to make it happen. And now you're forcing it and you're pushing, and then you're not truly relaxing. So this is where surrender comes into play. Detachment was first. Relentless belief in the darkness was second. But surrender, the sweetness of surrender. It is that feminine energy from my black kitties, right? It's that rest, okay? You did everything you were supposed to do to get here. You did your part. You need to surrender to the process of it, right? Think about if you were trying to force it to happen with the seed and you dig it up and you're like, did you grow yet, right? I put so much love into you. Did you grow yet? And the seed's like, no, I didn't. And I'm trying, but now you've digged me up because you were trying to control my process and now we have no plant. You may have actually destroyed the entire cycle, right? Because that darkness and that little bit of germination period is needed, right? So with that, the surrender comes by resting in the feminine energy. What I love about this is actually kind of comparing it to going out to eat. And when you're a woman and, you're in your feminine and you're on a date, like, you've already done all the work. You've already put yourself together. You already brushed your hair, put on your makeup, put on a cute outfit. You were already in the gym all week to make sure that body looked good. Like, you did the work. You showed up, right? You're being delightful. You're having good conversation. You ordered your food, right? Maybe your man ordered your food. I love it when my man orders my food. So nonetheless, you're not worried about where the food's coming. You know it's coming, right? You're actually just enjoying the time that you have in between the food arriving and you eating it and delighting in it. But you know it's coming and you're just like, okay, yeah. Like, let's talk about your day or let's get to know each other. It depends on where you're at in dating cycle. It's the same thing with Jesus Christ and with the seed and the germination process and this dinner is like that time isn't a waste. That time isn't useless. This time is part of the belief system of whether it's the 72 hours or the 3 months. Things tend to work on 3s, 6s, and 9s. And that's Tesla. So with that, you've got to surrender to it. You've got to be like, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I can go and relax. And if I feel to make inspired action, I shall, right? No one says that you can't, be delightful and talk to the waiter and say hey, it's been a moment, but I'd really enjoy something in between. Or, you're working with Jesus Christ. They were praying, right? They were getting ready. They were trying to figure out what to do next, right? And especially Mary Magdalene, she was waiting. She didn't lose faith. She's the one that stayed, right? If anything, she's the hero of the story. And that process is a beautiful aspect of the manifestation process. It lowers the resistance so things can happen faster. But a lot of people, again, get caught up here. They can't surrender. They can't let go and just believe that it's going to happen. They think that they must control it or they lose faith in it. And you can't do that. especially not in the first 72 hours. You've got to stay strong. Like 72 hours, I'm telling you, got to stay strong, got to stay with it, got to reject anything that comes in the way of you and your belief system. It's all about belief in the first 72 hours. You're not going to see physical changes in this reality for at least 72 hours. And if it's something big, like creation, like a new plant, a new tree, it's going to take a moment, but that belief matters. So now you're on day 3, and this is where they come into play. Like, let's go back to the resurrection. The dark is before the dawn. The darkness was like, okay, it's day 3. You said you were gonna be here, but I don't see you. Well, yeah, you didn't see him, right? The tomb was moved. Things had changed. Things had like truly manifested in their full creation. And same thing with the date. It's like, I'm really, really, really hungry, right? It's been maybe 15 minutes, right? Maybe not even 15 minutes, but you're like, I'm really getting there. I'm really hungry. And you're losing faith, but you're like, wait. The food's coming. They said it was coming. Like, I got to trust the process, right? It's always darkest right before the dawn. You're always the hungriest right before you eat. Like, even before, like, taking a spoonful, you see it on your plate and you're like, now I'm really hungry. It's in front of me. That's when you're truly the hungriest, not whenever you're just like thinking that it's going to happen and like they're cooking it. So same thing with relationships, because you know I love to talk about love. I love love. You always hear these stories about, I was waiting for Mr. Right and I was trying and I entered into my late 20s and then I was in my 30s and then I was in my 40s, or I'm in my 50s and I thought I found it and I'm divorced and I like XYZ, right? Like that belief system still matters. And you always hear these stories of like, it's when they turned the love back into themselves, the belief in themselves that I'm okay. I'm going to detach from how this happens. If it ever happens, I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm lovable. I'm worthy. And they turn all of that love and that energy back into themselves and develop the belief system of just unconditional acceptance and self-concept, which is what this podcast is completely about. Like the Black Cat Energy podcast isn't necessarily to go out there and just get you a rich man. Like, we'll get there, don't worry. Like, oh, I'll get you the man of your dreams if you keep listening. But at the end of the day, this is actually about developing a self-concept and confidence and just overall energy that is so attractive. You can't help but attract good things into your life. Abundance, love, success, health, you name it, right? That glow comes from within. So 3 days, it's always darkest before the dawn. And then it happens. And you're like, wow, that feeling, when it finally happens, you need to sit in it. Because if you want to become a master manifestor, if you want to get whatever you want quickly, on this time base of 72 hours, if you really want to capture it, you've got to learn this feeling. And you can learn feelings. Just like you learned sadness and happiness, you can learn the feeling of the manifestation of fulfillment. It's fulfillment that is the feeling. Now, a lot of people explain this as gratitude, or they explain it as thankful, like thankfulness. In fact, there's a whole like American and Canadian holiday about being thankful. So that feeling of gratitude is very similar. And if you need to take a leap into it and be like, I'm grateful, and like do your I'm grateful, I have gratitude journals every morning, by all means, go for it, girlie. But what we're really trying to capture is the feeling of fulfillment and the peace and the joy or the contentment, or in yoga we call it santosha, the fulfillment feeling. That is what you need to learn. And when you learn that, you can make this entire process accelerated, because this is the feeling of I am. I'm in it. I have it. I own it. It is part of me. It is in here. It's within me, to where I can start creating faster. The quicker you can get to that feeling with your desire and match these two feelings together, is the quicker that you can actually achieve your goal. So let's get back to it. I was telling the story earlier about speaking on stages and being able to talk to the masses of people that are looking for love or trying to revive or maintain or even grow their relationships. This was the week that I had actually been working on creating for a moment, because I was not sitting, I was right here. I was in my kitchen. I was cooking. I was cooking and I looked over at my partner because we are hosting the Bahamas 2025 retreats. And I say we, I actually mean Seth, my partner, like my business partner. And I was actually talking to my romantic partner and like just sharing about like flights and XYZ and accommodations for the Bahamas retreat. And I'll get into that in a moment. If you really want to learn this process one-to-one with me, I'll teach you. I'll teach you in 3 days, actually, between January 16th. Like the first 3 days, we'll nail it, and we'll use the last 2 days until the 21st to just master it, right? But nonetheless, I looked over and I was like, I have never really been in business class before. But knowing that I get to go and have a beautiful moment with you in the Bahamas, because we're going down the Bahamas before the retreat, and just experience that with you, makes me happy, makes me grateful. Like, I am satisfied in that. That is enough for me. Like, I love that. And I kid you not, a week later, I get asked, hey, we want you to come speak at this event in a whole different continent, and we want to pay you for it. And we also want to fly you business class to get here. Would you be interested? And that moment where the business class conversation happened last week, and I was just so fulfilled with just being, happy in my current life. And then also adding the fact that I've been doing inspired action. I've been on the podcast. I've joined YouTube. I've joined YouTube, guys. I have not been afraid to be on camera anymore. I spent 3 years developing the Who Am I podcast, being afraid to be on camera. And I don't think that I'm an ugly person. I think I'm a rather beautiful person. I grew up in the modeling industry, but something about being on camera really scared me. And I overcame a lot of these traumas or these fears by also doing inspired action and also being happy and grateful. So this opportunity comes into my vortex, my energetic field, and then they also say, we want to pay you. And they are paying me more than I had ever been paid to speak on stage in my entire life. Like, in one setting, they are paying me more than all of the other settings together. And that is phenomenal. That is a dream, a manifestation, a goal achieved. And I'm so grateful and I'm so reset. My mind is completely reset on this process. And the 72 hours of just all in belief is when that starts. Doesn't mean that's immediately when you're going to see it into manifestation, like the resurrection. It took 3 days and you rose, but it is the moment where the leaf actually can enter into the world. So before I get into the retreat, I want to kind of compare it to one more thing and think about a woman whenever she has become pregnant, right? There was an inspired belief system that this could happen, right? Whether you were trying or not trying, there is a belief system that this could happen. This could be a thing that happens, right? And a little bit, whether you're trying really, really hard or not trying, there's a little bit of a detachment because when the deed is done, you don't know what's going to happen. And that doesn't mean, though, that the moment that she conceives that you see a baby come out, right? It takes 9 months. Remember, Tesla, 3, 6, and 9. Everything happens in 3, 6, and 9. So that didn't mean the baby didn't exist before the baby came out. Like, the baby existed the moment of belief. The moment where you're like, this creation process has started. As a zygote, as a fetus, as a cell, it existed. Now, you couldn't see it. You couldn't probably even see it until you started the ultrasound process. And then the belief gets stronger, right? And then that's when it really hits a lot of parents. They're like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening, right? Their belief system really takes a level up. that will happen. Like your 72 hours of belief is 100% gotta happen. You have to stay strong in that time. But what will happen after that 72 hours, if you haven't immediately received your manifestation, you'll start to get these little things along the way that will help confirm that you're on the right steps, that you are on the good path of creating or achieving your goal. So for me, it started happening whenever the audience was growing, and it started happening whenever I was getting more workshops and more partnerships that were finding me, and I wasn't necessarily looking for them, and they would come out. It started happening with the magazines and being in more magazines and like asking for more asking for more exposure. So you'll get these little confirmations. Started happening with clients. Like these kept me going. That helped me install my belief as I was growing. And even the opportunity to go into graduate school and to be able to actually do this with a license and be able to work towards, being a licensed psychotherapist. Like this was all part of the inspired belief and action steps, which you'll get little bitty reality or 3D or, what you can see with your eyes as confirmational beliefs until you achieve the actual goal, until you get to where you say that you have arrived. And what's beautiful about this is that it is applicable to even speaking about relationships on stage. Is now I know that I've spoken to more people. Now that I've touched, more lives and been able to hopefully inspire them and add value into their lives. Actually, I know for a fact I add value into their lives because I get that confirmation again, right? And I get the feedback. So that feedback loop is really starting to work. And with that, it leads to more. And it leads to more giving and more abundance. And now I'm at this level. I'm at this level of this is what I accept for what my services are worth. This is what I know that I can do to be able to provide value. Like I leveled up. And you can't go back once you see something with your eyes and fully believe it and know the creation process and how it works. You can't retreat. You may stumble a little bit or, it's a whole different category and you're like, I don't know about this. But once you master this technique and you know how it works and you know the flow, you can't go back to the old ways because why would you, right? Like once we had fire, why would we go back to not having fire? We are on a whole different evolutionary plane at this point. So that is what we're offering. That is what we're bringing to the table with the Clarity Reset Bahamas Retreat. Again, it's January 16th through the 25th. It's in this beautiful villa, and it's going to be able to fit up to 17 people. Most likely we'll only have about 10 just because we want it to be an intimate experience and really provide a lot of value. And, full reset in 5 days. I'll be cooking and we'll also have a master chef there to be able to provide very nutritious meals because I'm all about health. But we're also going to be cooking in the brain and resetting the mentality and also in the soul. And of course, I'll be doing one-to-ones with relationships, whether you're looking for the dream guy, the dream girl, or if you're already in a relationship and you're trying to develop the next level, we're all for that. So that's Bahamas 2025. And if you want to work with me one-to-one while I'm still doing one-to-one clientele or family packages, then by all means, find me on Instagram or go to my website. It's just airkramer.com. Super simple. It's my name, both for the Instagram and for my website. And most of all, out of everything, this is what I want you to take away. 72 hours. Can you believe in yourself for 72 hours? Can you believe in your goal and in yourself? If you can, you're going to start seeing the changes. But if you let negative thoughts, negative emotions creep into that 72 hours, you got to restart it. It has to restart again. That is just the way of the laws. That is the way of the universe. That is how it works. So even if you're restarting for the 20th time, okay, just reset, clarity reset, right? Clarity reset, 72 hours. you're going to start seeing the physical reality shift and reset as many times as you want. This is actually what my phone screen is, and it's been my phone screen for about 2 months now. You are the creator of your life. You are allowed to reset as many times as you see fit. And with that, my black kitties, go forth, figure out those emotions with me, and don't let anything at all, keep you from the 72 hours